Therefore,
that's
he knows what happens.
I take note that you don't want to engage on that.
And fighting corruption,
Sorry, Senator. Let me refer you to page 4 of the Daily Nation. Fallout at Ruto and Raila joint MPs meeting. And you'll find a lot of exchange that indeed members of parliament walked away. They walked out from the meeting.
I know that's where you wanted me to say. Can I then respond to you in the context of how I'm
would want to do it? Realizing the lack of interest, Mr. Ishungwa told the lawmakers to attend the plenary to agree on the implementation plan of the 10-point agenda, but the upset lawmakers are not bothered. He also says that some claimed, members of parliament in this case, the leaders are the ones who use money to push the agenda in parliament. Others believe the two leaders' hardline positions was possibly because they're setting the stage for a purge in the House leadership. Unless you have denial of those facts, I want to move to Honorable
I'm Robert, not Sam.
Just hold on. Robert Mbui. Let's first listen to President William Ruto talking about credibility of Parliament, because that was one of the heavy points during that session. Do you have that?
So, going forward, si tunataka tukubaliane, si we are one team. Yes, there are people who are destroying the credibility of Parliament. And they are collecting money in the name of Parliament. And some of the time, or most of the time, that money never gets to Parliament, it gets to a few people. We are not going to shame them. We are going to arrest them.
Right. So the members of Parliament are calling for name them. He says we are not going to shame them, we are going to arrest them. I'm torn between some.
Let me allow me to close on.
Wait.
Okay.
Honorable Wandeto,
yes, please.
What do you make of those sentiments? Do you agree that Parliament has become Sokohuru, that there are people who are taking bribes to write favorable reports?
I think there are two sides to this conversation. The first one, I think, is the chickens are coming home to roost for Parliament. Yeah. Some of us have always complained about this very unholy relationship between the legislature and the executive. And every day, we seem to be bridging the gap and consummating what is otherwise very unconstitutional marriage. We've always talked about executive capture in Parliament, and where the executive now seems to be driving the agenda of Parliament. Now, why I'm saying the chickens have come home to roost is that Parliament is now so weakened. It has now been pushed to a corner, and now it is up for whipping. This is the doing of Parliament. And that is why, Sam, the Standard has captured this very, very well. And it is the leaders of Parliament, both speakers, who have now to lead a redemption mission for Parliament. Parliament requires some serious redemption. However, Sam, coming specifically to the issues the President is raising, I have two perspectives to this. First of all, I don't think we should be going into what I would call a blanket condemnation. We cannot throw the baby with the bathwater. I know there are good legislators who work very hard. There are good senators who work very hard for their people. I personally believe in leadership, integrity. I work to the best of my knowledge for the people of Tetu. But we also know, just like the fabric of the country, there are rotten apples in every sphere of this country. But the second perspective, Sam, about this is I don't know whether the people talking about corruption in that clip are necessarily qualified to talk about corruption.
What do you mean by that?
And Sam, we possibly need to have a whole show dedicated to discussing who can authoritatively talk about corruption in this country and who cannot. That one requires a separate show. So allow me not to.
You know what you're saying can have two meanings, yeah?
Yeah.
That one can speak as a point of authority, or one can speak from a point of morality.
I would probably go for the second one. a point of morality. And we don't want to have a situation whereby, it's the kettle calling it's the pot calling the kettle black.
What are you saying?
Sam, as much as we have challenges in Parliament, we have bigger challenges in the executive. Corruption is a national issue. For me, while I agree that there should be no corruption anywhere, I find it suspect, this singling out of Parliament that has started last week. Last week I attended the devolution conference in Homa Bay, and this is where this conversation had started a week earlier. Then last week the president was at Homa Bay, and he again buttressed this information. The former prime minister talked about this whole information, and there are two agendas that are coming in here. First of all, to allege Parliament as a house of bribery. Number two, it is going on in tandem with the conversation about removing certain funds, especially CDF fund and the constituency roads fund, from Parliament. And I further see this as putting Parliament to the corner. However, my point was the executive right now, or the people talking about this, are the least qualified. In fact, I invite them to read this morning Matthew chapter 7, verses 3 to 5. The words of Jesus Christ. I will not read for them. It is for them to go and read for themselves.
Help us. There are people who don't know how to find.
Or if they don't have the Bible, Jesus talked about the person who is always seeing the speck in his brother's eye. Yet he has a log inside his own eye. So, Sam, here we have a very serious conversation. However, I acknowledge there is some reform that needs to be done in Parliament. We need to reclaim our independence, but with the current, some of the things I see in Parliament, whereby it's more or less an extension of an executive choir. Bad bills are brought to Parliament. People, opposing voices are not given an opportunity to speak, and these things do happen, Sam.
And members of Parliament still pass those bills independently.
Sam, Parliament is about voting. Okay? They say the majority have their say, the minority have their the majority have their way, the minority have their say. I could stand up and oppose.
That's what I'm asking.
And oppose a bill. But if a choir has already been organized, it will still pass the bill, and that is how the country works.
Do members of Parliament pose to pass by majority out of their own conscience, or there's some pressure of whatever kind?
There is a lot of pressure, Sam.
Including financial?
Possibly.
Possibly. Okay.
There is a lot of pressure.
Okay.
There's when you hear something is a government bill, hell or high water, it has to be passed, however unpalatable it is. And there's a whole system that has been created, how that is achieved. And this is the things we are trying to say. At what point will we allow parliamentarians to vote with their conscience? And that is the redemption we are asking the speakers of both houses of Parliament to lead. It is long overdue.
Now, Mheshimiwa Mbui, you're part of the leadership of the House. First, I didn't see you at the meeting yesterday.
Sam, I also want to qualify I wasn't there.
And you come from UDA.
And I come from UDA.
So you
because
were not invited or what? Why didn't you go?
No, I received a message. First of all, we were all removed from the WhatsApp groups where this communication is done. But however, I received a message from a number, I think, associated with the Majority Whip, Honorable Soro.
A number associated, sure.
Yeah, because it is not his number. I have his number.
Okay.
So, but I believe probably it's him or his office
secretary
who are writing.
Yeah.
But some of us have decided not to proceed with this unholy alliance. So we can't be part of this.
Okay, Mheshimiwa Mbui. So, if indeed there's corruption in Parliament, that there are welfare chairpersons who get resources for members of committees to pass certain motions or certain decisions, how does it manifest?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. First, let me just say that when we are doing these shows, I think Sigei should come alone. Because Senator Sigei will spend an hour making a point that he can make in actually a minute or two. Because he's taken us round in circles and taken away all our time. But then, on this matter, I think it's important to note that, yes, there are two ways by which members are coerced. One is through intimidation, and I do believe that there is definitely money that changes hands to influence decisions that are done on the floor of the House. And somehow say this, it's not a new phenomenon. It's always been there. It's been there from the time I was elected. I've seen that happen over the years. And I'll tell you, for you to know that this thing is real, you look at a situation where members of parliament, someone is elected and is elected as a member of Azimio political party, and within a week of the announcement of a new president, he's already going to State House, totally against the party that brought him to the House. Again, many times you see people voting in support of motions that their own constituents are totally against, like the finance bill of 2023. I mean, that was a time when we are grappling with the high cost of living, and Kenyans were out in the streets with sufurias on their heads. But then there were members who were very comfortable saying that we are passing this thing that was going to, deal a very deadly blow on the cost of living and on, disposable income of Kenyans. And the tax regime was actually going to mess us up, all of us. But despite the general public's, clear indication that they were not in support, members still voted in its support on the floor of the House. So basically, there are those that are coerced because they're intimidated, they'll be thrown out of committees, but there's also a change of, money changes hands. I said it's not a phenomenon that is unique to this parliament. I was in the 11th parliament from 2013 to 2017. And in that parliament, we actually, as members of parliament, disbanded the Budget and Appropriations Committee on allegations of, inappropriate action by the members of that committee. We also disbanded the Public Accounts Committee, then chaired by the Honorable Ababu Namwamba. Yes. And it was on the same allegations that money, they were extorting money from witnesses that were coming, and people that had been named by the Auditor General. So basically, this phenomena has been there. Last Parliament, you remember the Honorable Fatuma Gedi talked about brown envelopes changing hands in the toilets. So it's not a unique phenomenon. It's something that's been around for a while. And the president was the deputy president all that period that I was in parliament seeing this happening. Yep. I don't know why suddenly now he's seen the light and suddenly he's saying parliament is corrupt. Just recently, we had this impeachment motion against the former deputy president. And money did change hands. People were paid to sign.
How much was it?
100, 200,000.
For the signature?
Yes, for the signature. And those who voted were also given money. This is 100, 200,000. There are many members who actually got money. So the only thing is that they will not agree to it, but we know that they were given money.
Signature was 100 to 200,000.
Yes, actually, the signature was 100,000. But some members were clever. They signed at the majority leader's office and went to the minority leader's office and signed again, so they got twice. But all the same, what I'm saying is that actually money did change hands. Some of these things that we are pretending are real. And sometimes, like Honorable Senator Sigea said, let's be honest, it is true that money does change hands in Parliament. But now, I think what has happened, where the problem is that the decisions that have been, through coercion and bribery, that have been taken by members of Parliament in this current 13th Parliament have been very unpopular with the populace. And so very many of them are highly unpopular right now. And I'll tell you some that even these empowerment programs, some of them are being used to be able to take members to their constituents because they couldn't even get there because of the problem that this coercion and this bribery has caused on them. Because you make...
So the empowerment is for the MP?
Is to make them be able... Some of it is to make these members go back to their constituencies.
Yeah.
Because after the 2023 and 2024 finance bill, remember what happened in Moranga after the 2023 finance bill, when members even went and said, no, this is not what we passed. But we on the floor of the House told them, this thing is going to hurt your people, and they refused to listen. Okay. So some now what I was saying is this, that after, what I'm reading in all this is that the president is aware that he has made a lot of his members of parliament extremely unpopular. And that, some of them, their re-election chances are very low. Yeah. So what does he do? He throws them under the bus. This is something he's done in the past. In 2024, when the Gen Zs go to the streets, he threw them under the bus when he threw away the bill and pretended that he's listened to the people. Yet the voters, the voters in the floor who are members of parliament were also listening, but they couldn't take the right decision. So he's throwing members under the bus by calling them corrupt. so that he can now start maybe winning those that are opposing them in their constituencies. That is what he's doing. That is definitely a game plan for the current president, so that he can have people that support him in the next election.
Sorry, I'll get to Dr. Masara. But Mheshimiwa, you said that signature was 100 to 200,000. To impeach, what was the range?
No, the vote, I think after he voted, there was some money also that was changing hands.
Because yesterday I was told about 10 million shillings for Senate.
Wow, no, I don't think National Assembly, they are that expensive. The rates are lower. The rates are much lower.
In this one.
Okay, sure. I'll get to you, Senator and Dr. Masara. Let's listen to the Senator of Isiolo, because she recently spoke passionately during the impeachment of Abdi Guyo, the governor of Isiolo, an impeachment the Senate voted to defeat on a question of procedure. Watch.
We know each other, and I know what transpired even 30 minutes ago. And I think it's good the public know what happened, and the Isiolo people know what happened. Mr. Speaker, Soko Huru is taking over this house. And I must say this. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
you cannot impute improper motive on your colleagues. If you want to proceed in that manner, you know what to do. Substantive motions.
Improper what?
Improper motive.
Improper motive against your colleagues.
Yes.
She cannot do that according to Speaker Kingi. But the president has said as much. That it's Soko Huru. He has gone ahead and put a figure to it, 150 million shillings.
Yes.
I do not know, for the sake of clarity, I do not know whether the 150 million shillings being spoken about by the president are the same as the Soko Huru being spoken about by Fatma Dulo. But you sit at the Senate.
Yes, I do.
What are the facts?
Well, the president yesterday, and I'm very happy the president spoke about it, because the moment the president of the Republic speaks about corruption in the manner and the tone that he did yesterday, it tells us that we need to change the way we do these things. And therefore, the comments he made yesterday and the statement made by my colleague, Senator Dulo, and by the way, I was in the House that day because it was an ongoing motion.
Yeah.
And the president went ahead and said that I'm a consumer of raw intelligence. He has said it. I am not, unfortunately. So I do not know. He probably knows I don't know. What I would say is this. I voted to impeach Governor Guyo myself. Because the allegations that were against him, to me, were sufficiently proved to warrant an impeachment. Of course, as we say, the stupidity of democracy is that the majority will have their way, the minority will have their say. As to whether or not then 150 million change hands, well, it's something that's out there. If indeed it happened, the president said yesterday we're going to arrest them, and so we shall wait and see. From where I sit, myself,
I mean,
myself, and probably those close people I know, I can attest to the fact that we did not get to that amount of 150 million, or we received, whether it's 10 million or whatever amount.
You didn't get to that amount?
I did not get it myself, yes. And probably also the cycle of the people I know. You know your friends. I know Wandeto here as a colleague sitting in the National Assembly. In the Senate, I would speak for myself and say, look, if the president is a consumer of raw data and raw intelligence, I will not want to go beyond that, because I am not a consumer of that bit. But I want to say I did not get that money. But
was there a narrative that money was exchanging hands?
Yeah, of course, my colleague actually alleged that on the floor. That's why the speaker told her.
Fatma Dulo?
Yes. Yeah, actually she did that.
No, beyond Fatma Dulo, did you hear senators speaking of receiving money?
We had we had conversations about it. We had conversations about what yesterday now my colleague, Honorable Junaid Mohammed, and the leader of majority were saying. In the context of bribery claims in Parliament, it is unfair and unfortunate to condemn the entirety of the House. Otherwise, I mean, I chair a committee, and I chair a committee. In my committee, I do not have a welfare chairperson. We've got the chairperson of Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee. That's myself.
Maybe you don't know.
We do not.
Maybe you don't know.
I would know from my stakeholders.
No, the president said that their members will go and get money, but they never deliver to the members. You might be one of those unfortunate...
He's the chair of the welfare committee.
I just want to say I do not have a welfare chairperson.
Are you the chair of the welfare committee?
I'm not the chairperson. But I'm a chairman of a committee.
I'm impeaching.